Remember when your weekly shop actually felt worth the money? When you could trust that what you were putting in your trolley was real food, not a chemistry experiment wrapped in clever marketing? When the brands your parents trusted weren't quietly swapping quality ingredients for cheap fillers while charging you more than ever? Those days are gone. The British supermarket industry has become a race to the bottom, and we're the ones paying the price. Not just with our wallets, but with our health, our trust, and the very quality of what we're feeding our families. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the UK's biggest supermarkets. We've dug through food standards reports, analysed recall data, investigated supply chain practices, and examined what real shoppers are actually experiencing. From horse meat scandals that shook the nation to everyday deceptions hiding in plain sight on every aisle, this is the truth about where your money is really going. And more importantly, which two supermarkets are actually still getting it right. Will your local shop be crowned a champion? Or is it one of the worst offenders dragging British food standards into the gutter? Let's find out. We're starting at number 8. Coming in at number 8, we have a supermarket that was once the pride of British value shopping, a brand that positioned itself as the champion of working families. But since its acquisition by the Asda brothers and TDR Capital in 2021, something has shifted, and not for the better. Asda's promise was always simple: save money, live better. But in 2023, the Competition and Markets Authority found that Asda was among one of the worst offenders for misleading pricing practices. They were caught advertising fake discounts, showing items as on offer when they'd never actually been sold at the supposed original price. That's not just poor practice, that's deception. But the pricing manipulation is just the beginning. In recent years, Asda has been hit with multiple food safety incidents that should concern every British family. In 2022, they had to recall their own brand chicken products due to salmonella contamination. In 2023, it was their coleslaw found to contain listeria. And just this past year, more recalls for undeclared allergens that could have killed someone with a severe allergy. One incident is unfortunate. Multiple incidents suggest a pattern. And then there's the elephant in the room, the Asda brothers' business model. Since taking over, they've been accused of asset stripping, selling off Asda's petrol forecourts to their own company, EG Group, essentially paying themselves with Asda's assets while loading the supermarket with debt. The Manchester Evening News reported in 2024 that Asda staff morale has plummeted, with employees describing a toxic atmosphere and claiming that cost-cutting has become so severe it's affecting stock levels and store standards. When a supermarket starts prioritising profit extraction over the people shopping there and working there, everyone loses. At number 7, we have Morrison's. And this one might surprise you because Morrison's built its entire reputation on being different. They owned their own farms, employed actual butchers and fishmongers, and even baked bread in-store. They were the supermarket that felt like it still cared about traditional British food. But that was before the private equity takeover. In 2021, Morrison's was bought by Clayton, Dubilier and Rice in a £7 billion leveraged buyout. And just like Asda, the vultures came circling. They loaded Morrison's with massive debt, sold off its petrol stations, and began cutting costs wherever they could. By 2023, The Guardian reported that Morrison's was struggling under £6.6 billion of debt, the highest debt level of any UK supermarket. When a company is that leveraged, where do you think the cuts come from? Not from executive bonuses, from quality, from staff, from the very things that made Morrison's special in the first place. And customers noticed immediately. Morrison's customer satisfaction scores, once among the highest in the industry, have fallen sharply. According to the Institute of Customer Service, Morrison's saw one of the steepest declines in customer satisfaction between 2022 and 2024. Former employees have spoken out about how in-store bakeries are now largely bake-off operations, where frozen dough is simply heated rather than bread being made from scratch. The butcher counters, once staffed by trained professionals, are being replaced with pre-packaged meat from central facilities. Morrison's was supposed to be the antidote to industrialised food. Now it's becoming exactly what it once stood against. At number 6, we have the Co-op, a brand built on ethics, community ownership, and doing right by people. For over 175 years, they stood for something different. But at number 6, the Co-op finds itself in an uncomfortable position, a supposed ethical retailer with some very unethical problems. In recent years, the Co-op has been quietly closing stores in poorer communities while keeping locations open in wealthier areas. Analysis by The Times found that between 2018 and 2023, the Co-op closed more stores in areas of high deprivation than any other major supermarket. So much for being the people's supermarket. And then there's the pricing. Because Co-op positions itself as a convenience store, they get away with charging significantly more than larger supermarkets. A 2023 investigation by Which found that a basket of 48 common items at Co-op cost £71.70 compared to £56.53 at Aldi. That's 27% more expensive. Now, convenience stores will always cost more, that's understood. But when you're marketing yourself as the ethical choice, as the community-focused alternative, charging the poorest customers the highest prices while closing stores in the areas that need them most, that's not ethical. That's exploitation wearing a friendly mask. If you're still watching and finding these details valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave the number 6 in the comments below just to let me know you're here. Your support allows us to keep exposing the truth about what's really happening with British food. Now, let's get back to it. At number 5, we have Sainsbury's. Once the pride of British supermarkets, a brand synonymous with quality and trust. But that was a different Sainsbury's. That was the Sainsbury's your grandparents shopped at. Today's Sainsbury's is a shadow of what it once was. In April 2024, Sainsbury's announced plans to cut 1,500 jobs, while simultaneously reporting that CEO Simon Roberts received a pay package of £4.9 million. Let that sink in. Cutting jobs by the thousand while the chief executive takes home nearly £5 million. But the job cuts aren't even the biggest issue. It's what they reveal about the company's priorities. Sainsbury's has been systematically reducing staff on the shop floor, replacing human expertise with self-checkout machines, and reducing the quality of service that once made them special. According to the British Retail Consortium, Sainsbury's significantly reduced in-store staffing levels between 2019 and 2024. Then there's the own brand scandal that barely made the news. In 2023, an investigation by the grocer found that several Sainsbury's own brand products marketed as premium were actually made in the exact same factories, using the exact same recipes as their budget range, just with different packaging and a 40% markup. That's not offering choice, that's manufacturing the illusion of quality to justify higher prices. Sainsbury's isn't the trustworthy British institution it once was. It's become just another corporate machine prioritising shareholders over the people who actually keep the tills ringing. Here we are at number 4, and we've arrived at the giant, the biggest supermarket in Britain. 1 in every £3 spent on groceries in this country goes to Tesco. With that kind of power comes responsibility. But Tesco has repeatedly shown it's more interested in profits than people. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Horsegate. In 2013, Tesco was at the centre of the UK's biggest food scandal in decades when their beef products were found to contain up to 29% horse meat. Not traces, nearly a third horse meat. Products labelled as beef burgers were being sold to families who had no idea what they were actually eating. Tesco claimed ignorance, blamed suppliers, and tried to move on quickly. But an investigation by The Guardian revealed that Tesco's obsessive cost-cutting and pressure on suppliers created the exact conditions that made this fraud possible. They squeezed suppliers so hard on price that corners had to be cut somewhere, and they were. With horse meat. But has Tesco learned its lesson? Not really. From 2016 to 2020, Tesco was fined £300,000 after admitting health and safety failings that led to the death of 2 employees in separate incidents. The health and safety executive found systemic failures in Tesco's safety management. And then there's the pricing scandal. In 2024, Tesco, along with several other supermarkets, was investigated by the CMA for potentially misleading shoppers with fake promotions during the cost of living crisis. At a time when British families were struggling to feed themselves, Tesco was accused of manipulating prices to make deals look better than they actually were. Tesco has become too big, too powerful, and too disconnected from the realities of the people who shop there. Market dominance doesn't equal trustworthiness. At number 3, we have Iceland. And this one is particularly troubling because Iceland markets itself as the budget-friendly saviour for families struggling with the cost of living. That's why mums go to Iceland, remember? But what they don't tell you is what you're actually buying. Iceland's entire business model is built on ultra-processed frozen food. And while frozen food isn't inherently bad, there's frozen vegetables and then there's what Iceland sells. Freezers full of products so heavily processed, so loaded with additives, emulsifiers and preservatives that calling them food feels generous. A 2023 analysis by the Food Foundation found that Iceland had the highest percentage of ultra-processed foods of any major UK supermarket, with over 75% of their product range classified as ultra-processed. But here's what really puts Iceland at number 3, the illusion of value. Yes, Iceland appears cheap, but when you analyse the actual cost per kilogram, per calorie, per nutritional value, Iceland is often more expensive than cooking real food from scratch. A 2024 investigation by Which found that a week's worth of Iceland ready meals for a family of 4 cost £87, while the same family could eat healthier home-cooked meals for £64 using ingredients from Aldi. Iceland isn't saving families money. It's trapping them in a cycle of convenient, nutritionally poor, expensive food while making them feel like they're getting a bargain. And then there's the environmental side. Iceland has consistently ranked among the worst UK supermarkets for plastic packaging. Despite pledging in 2018 to eliminate plastic packaging from its own brand products by 2023, Greenpeace reported in 2024 that Iceland had made virtually no progress toward this goal. Broken promises, ultra-processed food, and the illusion of value. That's Iceland at number 3. This is where things get controversial. At number 2, we have Lidl. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, isn't Lidl supposed to be one of the good ones? Here's the truth. Lidl has brilliant marketing. They've positioned themselves as the champion of British farming, the disruptor saving families money, the European efficiency model we should all embrace. But scratch beneath the surface and you'll find something very different. There's the British farming claim. Lidl loves to plaster British flags on products and talk about supporting UK farmers. But an investigation by Farmers Weekly in 2024 found that Lidl sources significantly less British produce than they claim, often importing cheaper alternatives while using misleading British branding. And here's the one that should concern every British shopper: quality control issues. Between 2022 and 2024, Lidl issued more product recalls than any other major UK supermarket, according to the Food Standards Agency database. We're talking about dangerous items, glass in baby food, metal in salads, undeclared allergens that could kill someone. 1 or 2 recalls? That's unfortunate. But when you're topping the charts year after year, that suggests serious systemic problems with quality control. Lidl isn't the hero it pretends to be. It's a corporate giant exploiting low wages abroad, misleading customers at home, and cutting corners on safety to keep prices down. And here we are. Number 1, the absolute worst place you could possibly spend your money on food in Britain. And the winner, if we can call it that, is B&M Bargains. Now, some of you might be thinking, but B&M isn't really a supermarket, and you'd be right to question that. B&M is technically a variety discount store, but here's the thing. Millions of British families are using B&M as their primary source of food shopping because they believe they're getting bargains. They're not. B&M has positioned itself as the ultimate discount destination. Pile it high, sell it cheap. But an investigation by Trading Standards in 2023 found that B&M had one of the highest rates of products past their best before dates still on shelves of any retailer in the UK. And it gets worse. In 2024, the Food Standards Agency flagged B&M stores in multiple regions for serious hygiene concerns, with several stores receiving 1 or 2-star food hygiene ratings, the lowest possible ratings before a store is forced to close. But here's what really earns B&M the number 1 spot. It's a dumping ground for food that couldn't be sold elsewhere. Much of B&M's food inventory consists of surplus stock, end-of-line products, and items approaching their dates that other retailers have rejected. While this might sound like a good deal, what you're actually buying is food that's been sitting in warehouses, transported multiple times, and stored in unknown conditions before landing on B&M's shelves. And the quality? Former B&M employees have described storage practices as appalling, with refrigerated items left unrefrigerated, stock rotation ignored, and temperature controls inconsistently monitored. A 2024 survey by Which ranked B&M dead last for customer satisfaction among all UK retailers selling food, with particular concerns about food quality, freshness, and trust. B&M isn't helping struggling families, it's profiting from their desperation by selling them the bottom of the barrel at prices that only look like bargains. So we've covered the worst. 8 supermarkets that are failing British families in one way or another. But surely there must be someone getting it right. Surely someone is still prioritising food quality, fair pricing, and honest business practices. The answer is yes. 2 supermarkets stand above the rest. Coming in at number 2, we have M&S. And before you say, but M&S is expensive, hear me out. Yes, M&S costs more, but you're getting what you pay for, and in today's supermarket landscape, that's increasingly rare. M&S consistently ranks highest for food quality in independent testing. Their supply chain standards are among the strictest in the industry. And unlike other supermarkets cutting corners, M&S has actually increased quality control measures in recent years. In 2024, M&S received the highest customer satisfaction rating of any UK supermarket for food quality for the 8th year running, according to the Institute of Customer Service. More importantly, M&S has avoided the major scandals, the recalls, the safety failures that plague other chains. Their product recall rate is one of the lowest in the industry. That's not luck, that's standards. And here's what really matters. M&S is still British-owned and hasn't been carved up by private equity vultures or loaded with debt. They answer to shareholders, but they haven't sacrificed food standards to juice short-term profits. Is it perfect? No. Is it expensive? Yes. But if you're buying fresh meat, quality prepared meals, or food you can actually trust, M&S is one of the few places left where you're getting honest value for money. And at number 1, the only UK supermarket truly worth your loyalty right now, we have Aldi. I know Lidl came in at number 2 on the worst list, and the two are often lumped together, but Aldi is fundamentally different in how it operates. Here's why Aldi takes the crown. First, the value is real. Not fake discounts, not manipulated pricing, not bait-and-switch tactics. Which consistently ranks Aldi as the cheapest supermarket in Britain, often by significant margins. A 2024 analysis found that shopping at Aldi, instead of traditional supermarkets, could save the average family £1,500 per year. Second, the quality. Aldi has won more awards for product quality than any other budget supermarket. Their fresh meat is Red Tractor certified. Their fresh produce regularly beats premium supermarkets in blind taste tests. But here's what really sets Aldi apart. They've managed to keep prices low without compromising on ethics. Aldi's supply chain practices have been ranked among the best in the industry by Oxfam. They pay employees significantly above minimum wage, averaging £11.40 to £12.40 per hour, compared to £10.50 to £11 at traditional supermarkets. And the recall rate? According to FSA data, Aldi has one of the lowest product recall rates in the UK, similar to M&S, but at a fraction of the price. Aldi isn't perfect. The limited selection frustrates some people. The lack of branded products annoys others. But when it comes to delivering honest value, quality food, and ethical business practices, Aldi is the only UK supermarket consistently getting it right. So there you have it. 8 supermarkets that are failing British families, and 2 that are actually worth your time and money. The uncomfortable truth is that the British supermarket industry has become a race to the bottom. Private equity takeovers, cost-cutting, misleading pricing, declining standards, it's happening across the board. But we're not powerless. Every time we shop, we vote with our wallets. Every purchase is a choice about what standards we're willing to accept. The question is, are we willing to accept horse meat in our burgers, metal in our wraps, and expired food on shelves? Are we willing to accept fake discounts, exploited workers, and declining quality? Or are we going to demand better? The power has always been ours. We just need to use it. So what do you think? Did we get it right? Did your local supermarket make the list? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, demand better food, support better businesses, and never settle for less than you and your family deserve.